We're getting the band back together.
Mom!
And so here we are again, faced against one of a few pits of DreamWorks movies, a trilogy that somehow reached its end. We have a long and documented history with the Trolls franchise, and for some stupid reason, I never picked up the habit of making these bigger breakdowns on movies if I had already released a preliminary review at the time it came out. Every new movie should be open grounds for a terrible or an amazing episode, so let's finally fill that void 1 year later. Let's go deep into the third installment of one of DreamWorks' worst, presumably. This is the terrible Trolls 3. Here we go again. Yeah, Universal logo. DreamWorks, come along now. Oh, hey, at least it's the new one. That's at least refreshing and interactive. There it is. The unavoidable vibe. I might need a moment now to manually remove some brain cells out of my head for this.
1 minute to showtime!
And so we begin on a flashback, taking us to an entirely new dimensional timeline. Forget about variations on trolls distinguished by genre. Turns out the pop trolls were also boy band trolls back in the day, and this is all a setup to learn a little more of Branch's origin story. Can't wait to see the very remembered part where
Singing killed my grandma!
again. And naturally, Branch is Baby Branch now.
You're making Baby Branch nervous.
Nervous to take on his very first show, and also still pandering to that baby thing DreamWorks has going on with this and another franchise of theirs. Still, it's a chance to meet 4 new characters in Branch's brothers.
Oh, come on!
Okay, I kinda like that joke, though maybe that's just because it's ripped straight out of SpongeBob's book. We see a gag attached to each bro, a little imagination for the kids.
I'm gonna barf and pass out
And pee your pants all at once?
Hey, at least it's not a straight farting when nervous joke or something. And with a hint of conflict and concern, we see a little bit of each bro. Time for the show.
Let's bro!
This is gonna be a recurring line in the movie, isn't it? I hate it. How very 2012 of it. What more can you expect of this kind of humor anyway? The parents probably fondly remember 2012. It's when they peaked in the first place. But with the closest thing to subtlety out of the way, it's time for the overt introductions.
The heartthrob!
As each brother gets a boy band archetype attached to them. On the one hand, it's a nice kind of way to parody the genre and introduce us effectively to these characters. In another sense, these archetypes make for such surface level characters, only bloating an ensemble group even further. As for their actual performance, it's your classic Alvin and the Chipmunks approach. Just put a voice changer on. I don't exactly want a real baby singing, but to me it's a bit meh. All eventually building up to our rising conflict of that final harmony, which of course goes terribly. Surprising what a lack of choreography does to a show. Or practice, apparently. What follows next is of course meant to be the extension of the failure, with everything going wrong and wrapping them up. But the music behind it to me is just dysfunctionally dysfunctional, you know? This is a long bit, so that glitching music feels progressively more forced the more seconds it drags things out before finally cutting on the end of it. You can see the vibe they were going for, but by having this be like a 20-second sequence, I feel it loses something along the way. Running with emotions. It is the third movie after all.
Oh, so it's my fault. Is that what you're saying?
Cue the band breakup. But you know what's really good in this scene? The cinematography. We're starting to get intentional with our camera work. And so this whole scene is shot like a reality TV show. And it works. They do it a few times in this movie. I adore the zooms, and it adds a nice change of pace to the usual Trolls look. Or animation in general. DreamWorks weren't the first to do this, but they look stellar when they do.
My exquisitely chiseled rock-hard abs and I quit.
And every one-note bro leaves, some with legitimate understandings of emotion.
I'm gonna find trolls who take me seriously.
And then there's the main guy.
Bro going solo. YOLO.
Yeah, this is a DreamWorks script, and more of that 2011 humor. And it's funny, in being a 2023 movie, you know this is post-Bad Guys and Puss in Boots, and I can see elements of great filmmaking, but at the same time, you can tell it's also fighting against the fact that this is still a Trolls movie. So a lot of this is hit or miss. Like, what about this next interpretation?
We're not in sync.
I think we love this, actually. A perfect blend of nonsensical references, but so far off the other end and contextualized to make sense that this comes off as decent writing? What is entertainment, anyway?
Gone from boys to men, only one direction, the back streets.
And hey, speaking of writers, Trolls 3 didn't totally forget Branch's original origins.
You're gonna take care of Grandma.
And so the boys all part ways in every which direction, leaving Branch metaphorically and cinematographically in the dark. Alright, DreamWorks, show that artistic flair. Back to present day, and Branch is visiting his grandma's place now that she's dead and gone. Unfortunately, we skipped the death scene, didn't want to do a repeat of what you've already animated, I guess. Well, anyway, he's moping at a Brozone vinyl.
Brozone? No way, I love Brozone!
To which, of course, our secret identity plotline is sure to be milked for a little bit. Were all pop trolls boy band trolls before, or was it a niche? Can an entire genre of trolls warp over time? Are there Japanese city pop trolls that are now future funk trolls, or something like how does this work? We'll never know. Instead, we get...
Let's go get married.
Branch!
Let's get Bridget and Crystal married.
classic Freudian slip. The kids don't crave answers, they crave romance! And now it's the poppy intro song number I can't really play for you. And remember the whole entire last movie that deleted the whole entire movie before it? Yeah, forget that middle child, as we're now going back to the first movie dimension again with the Bergens. Being nostalgic even for itself, the Trolls movie is. Nostalgic for 2016 as well as 2012. But you know who's eternal?
Oh, looking sick, King G.
You could say that again.
Stop! Why is this thing still here? There's been no development in 3 movies, my dude. Anyway, the romance Bergens from the first movie are getting married and everyone's coming together. There's even a couple of character story beats in song, very Tim Burton.
Everybody treats me like I'm just a little baby.
Tiny Baby Man wants emphasis on the man, all because of that one line that was over-extrapolated in every trailer.
You make the cutest little flower boy.
Not even in song, really. But okay, I just don't like the voice changes, it seems. Ah! James Corden jump scare! Haven't thought about him in a while. How blessed. And as everything all comes together in a pretty inoffensive manner, we can begin the marriage ceremony. And to be honest, are you really interested? Apparently the movie knows kids aren't, as this thing does not last long at all either. We get some quick beats in there, some family setup.
I don't have a sister, so I wouldn't know, which is fine. It's something I'm coming to terms with.
You get that mandatory Trolls glitter thing. How far we come from farting glitter on portraits. You got jokes that don't land. And jokes that do?
Now, falling in love is easy if you count that semester I spent abroad.
This Trolls universe canonically has one-night stands? Crazy. But then just as quickly, we switch on over to the classic.
Stop the wedding!
I can't remember all my suitors, Gracie.
Man, is everyone banging nonchalantly in this universe? Is this a sausage party world when the cameras aren't on or something? I'm traumatized, and I'm not even a kid. But yes, it is of course Branch's big bro making a comeback for the main plotline.
I'm Branch's brother.
What?
And all those secrets come out with bells and whistles.
You're John Dory!
The leader.
The old one!
And while there's all sorts of time spent on more semi-cringe lines like,
And a falsetto made of gold.
we then also get a little squeak of consistency in mentioning the events of movie 2 in this one offhand comment here.
It wasn't until I heard about you saving the world from the rock apocalypse that...
Don't ask where else that fits into the world, but hey, at least it's not a straight deletion like last time. But micro-mentions and pseudo-dramas later, we come to talk about the real plotline now, as Floyd is in danger, supposedly. And all found out via a letter.
I'm being held against my will by Superstar's Velvet and Veneer.
Oh, fair enough. Hostages are famously known for being able to find pen, paper, and a mailing system when locked up somewhere. Anyway, only the biggest brother is contacted and decides to skip to the 3rd act sequence.
So I went to Mount Rageous alone.
Now broadening out the Trolls universe even more. Beyond just alternative trolls and their genres, now we have alternative Bergens? Big people, but also with their own branding of music.
Everybody's looking for something.
What are these people? We're just making it up as we go along, aren't we? Another excuse for another song choice in this jukebox musical, really. Alrighty. And with minimal interruptions, John makes it all the way to the captive guy, despite him specifically requesting the whole family come together for this rescue. From there, we learn that there's two particular performers, Velvet and Veneer, who have been stealing Floyd's talent in this perfume-like bottle.
What? That's even worse than lip syncing.
And of course, the big plot piece is that the bottle is made of diamonds. The one thing that was mentioned in the flashback boy band scene to be breakable only by
The perfect family harmony.
you know, the thing they screwed up earlier. It's a real simplistic plot, but seems palatable to be honest. It's a getting the band back together adventure for the classic rescue mission.
Dude, we're getting the band back together.
Just with some weird pacing of teleporting practically everywhere. And so, despite having all the info in the letter already, seriously, how did he send it from within the glass? John Dory promises to return properly this time with the specifications he was given.
I'll be back with the bros. You have my word.
And so with that, the journey will of course begin. Branch being hesitant and Poppy pushing through, with more lines that are so hit or miss.
Brozone, here we bro again. Brozone, where'd they bro? I don't know. We're gonna find them.
Only for one more switch up to come in this giant Chewbacca-sounding centipede vehicle monster. A real theme for Trolls monsterology. Also, the Bergens are now married. Time to see the other side.
I'm amazing. You're amazing.
These are our villains of the week, Velvet and Veneer. What are they? Tentacle beings? The remnants of Ruby Gilman, I guess? And their aesthetic is the relationship of Sharpay and Ryan, mixed with the brand of Jedward. Completely self-centered and one weaker than the other.
We don't have a secret. Who said we have a secret?
And actually, having a duo of a villain does open doors for some interesting character developments, but we'll see how it pans out. It's been seen and done before, but not in Trolls. Can they ascend High School Musical? Well, for now, they certainly don't have the talent, as we soon hear for ourselves.
Terrible.
Thus, it is time for them to return to our boy Floyd. He is the source of their power, after all. And honestly, I don't hate most of these jokes. Upon claiming they have no more talent to give out, they follow up with,
I mean, maybe like a desperate Christmas album?
and I don't think we've seen this kind of commentary in the Trolls trilogy before, actually calling out some of the industry tropes of a given genre. It's like parodying itself in a meta-commentary kind of way that genuinely and wholeheartedly works as good writing. Not that it matters for the plot. Floyd is still Spritz this time, and try not to think about it too much, they really use the full extent of this guy beyond dry.
That dude looks rough.
And he's getting pale.
By the end of this movie, it'll be a miracle that he's not a skeletal husk. Like, should we do a counter on this guy's life source sucking? Also, what a magic system. It's kind of like the Bergen eating premise again, but with pasteurizing cheese rather than eating beef. Smart writing. Recontextualizing the same storyline. These writers are something else, man.
I forged a letter begging for them to come and save you.
Oh, wow, wait. They actually address the whole glass bottle plot hole as well? Is this a well-thought-out Trolls movie? The gaps are being filled with each progressing scene. What are the odds a terrible trilogy can stick the landing? And so, with Floyd left alone, he gets to singing.
Ride that highway in the sky.
Sweet. And floating in the brief moment of happiness he can find exclusively within music? What has Trolls become? Cinema? It even tops off with
Your ukulele skills are improving.
Thank you.
wholesome and fourth wally. I think I like this movie.
Tiny, what are you doing here?
Oh, maybe put a pause in that. But hey, at least it's not that caterpillar meeping thing. Or the auto-tuned glitter guy. Or James Corden.
The better question is, are you a narc?
Yeah, this is a massive improvement. And so, with very little to go on, the crew must now try to work out where at least one of the new brothers is.
All we have to do is follow the clues.
Nice that this just spawned on the wall over here, but the real info is a postcard with no details which they plan to manually find the sunset of. Also gush about Branch's past some more.
Ah, look at you. You are so cute. I love it.
And just as quickly as that is established, hey look, it's the sunset. How typical.
Ah, man.
And so off they pop, a quick to-the-numbers scene and nothing much more. Now time for a brief reappearance of the Bergens, heading out on their honeymoon, now on motorbike.
Woo! It is a night of surprises.
And just as quickly, we're back to the core gang, reminiscing through the jungle, setting up some twists for later until we come across...
Where every day is a vacay.
a apparently it's the land of Horton Hears a Muppet. Who are these guys now? Another alternative Bergen-sized being? Well, anyway, it's a song number.
We'll be playing, having fun.
Then that rolls out into another separate song number.
It's a bombastic, tell me fantastic.
I am quickly losing an ability to be on board with this movie, but you know who else is very on board?
To dream in the wind to carry me.
Brother 1, the heartthrob has been found, or technically Brother 4. In fact, after this, there's literally only one more person to find. Way to severely skim down your movie runtime. This is a 90-minute movie for a reason. Anyway, now that he's been spotted, time for a chat at a local pub.
Bruce, it's us. It's your brothers.
And of course, naturally, it's not so easy a conversation. With Spruce being particularly on bad terms with John Dory, whilst also babying Branch too, and not really changing his ways.
Right.
Wet Willie!
Stop it.
Then, in proper heartthrob reversal, we come to learn that the pretty one has settled down.
Now that I'm a dad,
Wait a minute, you're a father?
And even more so than that,
she is my soulmate, my very tall soulmate.
right, DreamWorks loves their questionable body compatibilities. Anyway, alongside the kids' constant pestering with the kind of classic jokes you'd expect, it's pretty cliche at this point of having the kids say surprisingly profound or reacting far more maturely than expected things, and here they pretty shamelessly put both together with both a government reference as well as this.
I have pink eye.
Not sure how deserved that was, but DreamWorks has been rewarded for swearing at jokes at least twice now, so expect it more in the future. But overall, Bruce is now just not that interested.
You do remember our last show, don't you?
If we practice.
Wow, what genius thinking. Preparing for a performance. Never would have thought of that. Only perking up when having to prove he was actually cool once to his kids.
I'll prove it right now.
Yes!
And so they perform, but of course, it's still just a jukebox musical.
Love the way you turn me on.
There's of course some remixing in there, referencing several songs together, like this and also Staying Alive for some reason, but it's still unoriginal lyrics, so the song itself doesn't really matter. All they otherwise do is put Brozone instead of Backstreet in there, but character-wise, Branch now gets on board a little bit, and everyone enjoys themselves. You can see some animation highlights and low points, pixel work and abstract cinematography, but also no background at times. It's a mix of a bit of both. But at the end of the day,
We still got it!
Oh, tell me that didn't feel good.
and just like that, Spruce Bruce is on board, asking his wife for permission first and allowed to. That's a nicely established boundary right there.
You should leave now before you get pink eye. Save yourself.
And just like that, we're diving right into another song number. It's interesting. Pretty much every scene in this movie starts out with this electric energy by just never-endingly starting off on a song. And admittedly, it works.
Shower and the blood starts pumping.
Great for attention time and doesn't overstay its welcome either.
Ow! You just burned me.
Oh my god, I'm sorry.
But yes, we're back to this assistant lady, and what is she? A pom-pom? A paper species from that one craft world in an earlier movie? I genuinely don't even know. But she's built some shoulder pads.
I finally put that master's degree in engineering to good use.
Huh. What is wrong with me? Turns out the fruit juice prompt was not for fruit, but troll perfume. And when given the instruction of
Lightly tap this button, just delicately.
Velvet actually turns around with Floyd is long dead by now. There shouldn't be nothing left. Already. Further to that, we get a nice origin story of Velvet and Veneer. Not quite poor kids and not quite nepo babies, but I like the call out of it all.
We grew up in the suburbs. Our parents were dentists.
Just to make our villain lady even more problematic, and soon enough, off they go. Assistant shoved in the closet and Floyd thrown down to the side for next time. We will be routinely returning to minimal Floyd antics just to break up the story, but for an establishing of stakes, yeah, it's not bad. Faintly creative. Perfume. Alrighty. Back to the vehicle crew, and it's time for the technical final brother clues.
We like the clue board now?
Whereby our characters also learn about the big show Velvet Veneer are conducting soon for some extra time stakes. Before ignoring the smorgasbord of information again to use the fun one's abandoned underwear as bait for the caterpillar monster to use to track him instead.
Thunder drawers.
Smelling people's underwear. This movie has a lot of weird undertones, and specifically this one.
Help us, Rhonda! She's got the scent!
And then we have the hustle. It's just a moment, just a bit, a nice flare of 2D animation, an excuse to bump the plot along so they don't actually need to travel in this movie. It's like a teleporter, and just as quickly, it's over.
Wow, Too much hustle is a thing.
A very strange and minimal addition, something to add to the trailer and showcase the animators have traditional talent, but otherwise it's kind of missable. And so it's time for Clay's place. Known as the fun one before, now he resides at...
Are we sure this is where Clay lives?
Of course, all these boys are grown up and the reverse of what they were. So I guess even that old point I made about surface level characters is kind of wrong too. They're not all just archetypes of the same cliche tropes, though they are 2-beat instead, so maybe it's still pretty simple. They're just the reverse of what they were. It works for this ensemble cast anyway, and we haven't seen James Corden for a hot 40 minutes, so that's always a plus too.
We're just here looking for our brother, Clay.
And just as quickly, we come to meet a spanner in the works. It's not the brother, it's Viva. Very much an energetic troll. Hey there, thank you for making it halfway through this video. Do come along and subscribe if you want to keep up with more deep dives on terrible and amazing movies. We're uploading all the time as much as we can. And in case you're already subscribed, let's get to the second half of our Trolls 3 coverage.
Is this how people feel when they meet me?
Yes.
But we're not here for her, we're here for the brother. And with all these trolls hiding from the mention of Bergens, back to Trolls 1 we go, we see what Clay really looks like.
Meet circles.
He's talking about burgers, by the way. Now has not been the right time to be craving dinner watching this scene. And Clay, of course, now parades in as boring an attire as possible.
Would I have chosen the admin building as my bedroom?
And of course, having the same relationships of respecting brothers, despising John Dory, and babying Branch, and somewhat being reminded of the
Perfect family harmony.
Do we really need to repeat it every 15 minutes for the kids at the back? Alrighty then, but don't pretend this is new information.
Or I have not been paying attention.
Ugh. Never did they properly exercise the idea of getting the authorities involved, whatever form that would take, as a kidnapping crime. Nope, it has to be family drama with that diamond barrier. And speaking of family drama...
This is so totally random, but I used to have one just like it.
Whoa, turns out Poppy had a long-lost sister this entire time. Couldn't have put that together with how heavy-handed they kept mentioning that she didn't.
What would I know about secret family members?
And how contrived that they're in the same place as Branch's brother. But it's plot, for some reason. Where was she in the initial Trolls 1 scene? Either way, it's happy reunion times.
I can't believe this. I've always dreamt of having a sister.
And just like that, we burst into a song sequence once again. We got a musical quota to fill after all.
I'm seeing different when I look at you.
And it serves as our montage piece for Poppy and Viva to get to know each other all against a backdrop that permanently defies gravity. But it's interesting. It's not just a 2D or non-existent background, plus it's telling a story and saving us time. The boys are all there near the end to get the full reunion vibes together, and looking into it further, this is an original song. I mean, I know the songs are still remixed and spliced together, but Camila Cabello is Viva, and this is an original song from her as far as I can tell. The lyrics don't come from anything else, I don't think. As for the quality of the song, I mean, yeah, it's alright. Doesn't break boundaries, and maybe that's the thing for all original Troll songs, since they all just bleed in comfortably enough that I don't even recognize that it's new. I don't know if that's high praise or an insult. And each movie had an original song? I mean, I guess it makes sense.
Now we're together, we got it all.
But still, it's diluted into the rest of a jukebox musical by the numbers soundtrack, so maybe it's not as high praise as it could be, but not the laziest thing in the world either. I'll admit it. And one side ramble later, the song has come to an end.
It takes me and you.
And now that non-dialogue part is out of the way, time for dialogue to fill in the rest of the gaps. Sort of. It takes ages to get there.
I still have a million questions about what happened.
See, as much as Viva is a surprise and has all sorts of answers, she doesn't really want to talk about it. This movie is egregiously short if we don't add a sprinkling of padding. Apparently, it's all attached to trauma.
Viva doesn't like to talk about it.
It's also an excuse for the movie to inject in a mini conflict into the center of this otherwise uninterrupted plot. All we've done so far is go place to place, sing, and then move on. And now Viva finally has her long-lost separated sister, who apparently just literally was burrowed away from the tunnels from scene 1 and no other troll or the king ever mentioned her again. Now she doesn't want Poppy to leave either, and she's full-on agoraphobic with the fear of Bergens.
No, I can't.
And so, Viva stays back after unsuccessfully forcing everyone into the golf course that she found immediately after that old Bergen crisis. Did we really need another sibling in this movie to expand things out? Kinda makes the whole premise of this movie feel even more gimmicky than it already is. But alright, we're now over to Floyd again and Velvet and Veneer, and thankfully there's no sucking in this scene. Instead, V and V are lamenting.
I want to be famous, but I'm not gonna work for it.
All the while Floyd's been playing dead this whole time and actually getting a chance of escaping? Flushing sounds like a victory to me. All roads lead to the ocean and whatnot. But no, instead Floyd goes on the run directly in front of them. What a numpty. Almost pushing out the boundaries of what this type of scene is meant to be.
Help! Help!
And does it go anywhere? No, you deserve to be treated with kindness. Back to the sister. Forget about it. Back to the boy band, and Branch is wearing a... Still, it's another performance from the band and all. Bit nasally on that one too, but even still, all the pieces are finally aligned for the big rescue. If it wasn't for a recurring piece to return...
Stop, time out.
Those age-old problems from the start of the movie have returned. Faith in the leader is fading again.
Or is this all just so you can tell people what to do again?
What?
The band is falling apart again.
Put some respect on my name, fool!
And we're coming right back to where we started. But this time, Branch is old enough to also contribute, as now it's pointed out that all the brothers have no plans to stay together after this rescue. John Dory included. He's had enough of their hypocrisy, claiming to have all changed, but none of them have, in fact.
I stopped being a baby the day you guys walked out on me.
Oh, a semi-dark origin story. Apart from skipping the grandma details.
Then Grandma got eaten and there was no one else to take care of me.
Oh, they said it! They remembered! Cheekily using your passive voice, Branch, but I get what you're saying. It's not that Grandma got eaten, it's more like...
Thinking kill my grandma, okay?
But sure. And he walks out on everyone else for a change. Only to leave a little bit of a litter. That piece of paper from the very first scene I might have skipped over.
This is Branch's bunker.
Turns out that Trolls 1 underground house was conveniently laid out for his non-existent brothers back then. Though was his room planning to be in the walls or something? There's no room for him. But sure, what a plot twist. Also, your family relative is dead in case you weren't aware. I feel like that's a tougher pill to swallow on this reunion.
Wait, Grandma got eaten?
Huh. What they don't show you is the complete anguish this guy goes through off camera on this discovery. He has been living under a rock after all. Also, gotta love how with an ever-expanding cast, Trolls 3 manages to invent new character designs by just extending every newcomer's hair. Like, look how massive they are compared to our core Trolls. Anyway, Branch is moping again.
Where are you going?
To save Floyd. Alone.
Ah, yes. Let's loop back to the start of the movie where John Dory went alone before the Diamond Barrier again. I guess they are related. No further plans there, but it doesn't matter. It's a rare heart-to-heart with Poppy.
Let's give each other some credit here.
They choose to stick together on this moment, and Tiny joins too.
I was moved by Branch's speech.
At the same time, we have that Bergen plotline. Remember how we saw them last before meeting the first brother on the journey? Yeah, well, they've made no progress, having a water park experience entirely off screen and only now reaching the abandoned golf course.
French fries!
French fries.
To which they're not ignored like when the Trolls were here last. No, now they're attacked with upfront bravery, a complete 180 of characterization for this population, but whatever, not too sinful.
I didn't think we'd both find ourselves tied up on this honeymoon.
That, however, is egregious. Why is it specifically these two that are so sexually charged, and really unsubtly too? It's kind of losing its cheekiness for being so overt at this point. Like, come on, my dude. Anyway, now it's the home trio going it alone. No plan for the diamonds or anything.
You have to walk on your own, Tiny. You have to be a big boy.
Also, Tiny is using this time to have a baby tantrum of tiredness. Well timed, bud. Not like someone's life is on the line or anything. Very lovable character thing to do there. But otherwise, it's a typical heist. Executed at the same time as talking to really minimize that runtime. Can't say it's not efficient. And soon enough, no hiccups, they arrive. Twice now we've invaded the security of this place with nary a thought on it.
Floyd, Branch.
Hey, remember last time we saw this scene, like an hour ago? Yeah, it's pretty much identical again. Floyd banishes them away, this time with more context on knowing what's going on, and the only real difference is a character payoff for Branch.
You're a man now.
Finally, somebody gets me.
The irony on full show for character conflict throughout this movie. But it's still nothing for actual plot progression. Can't break that diamond, what a surprise. And what's more...
Oh no.
The rest of the boy band are here. You know how it all comes together at this point. But I do really like, for some reason, the delivery of this line from the almost forgotten assistant at this point. Just a very enthusiastic character overall. and following suit with her roles as the lovable, vulnerable one on the bad side, technically.
Doesn't that seem a little sus to you?
Huh. And that is one of the earliest uses of the word sus in movies post Among Us, or am I reading too hard into it? We already had ASMR representation in Ruby Gillman earlier this same year, so maybe DreamWorks is picking up on online cues. Anyway, the band are all locked up in those shoulder pads, and Velvet and Veneer are off again. As for the assistant, she gets rescued, of course.
Okay, now whose sibling is this now?
Okay, I don't know who's writing half of these jokes, but they are solid, whoever they are. Meanwhile, we have the Bergen plot, still the most charged characters in the film.
Would it be weird if we made out?
Why is it on the characters that plausibly look the most childish? I get that they're big, but with marriage and all, it's like they're speedrunning life at age, what? That's not 18. Look at the real adults of their species. I don't like this rabbit hole.
Your Poppy sister?
And just like that, that's done. Expectedly, nothing new. Honestly, it's padding at this point. I'm not sure if either of these characters have actually contributed anything other than a longer runtime.
It's called systematic desensitization.
Yeah, let's skip this filler. Surprisingly, at just over an hour, we're in the final climax. It's Velvet and Veneer's big showtime. And so they're out to meet the crowd, just as Poppy and Co can catch up to them with the biggest of accusations.
You big phonies!
And just like that, the villains buckle, immediately leaving without argument. I guess you would in front of a crowd. Cancel culture is rough. But what it leads into is honestly the best part of the movie. I remember the most when I first saw it in cinemas. One of the writers for the film worked on Shrek 2 and it shows, because this final action sequence is essentially Shrek 2's again. It's a chase scene towards the villain. Not quite I need a hero, but instead,
Sweet dreams are made of this.
Is it lazy? Is it formulaic? Either way, I gotta say, I love this. And it's a little more than the Shrek 2 run. The villains are in the chase and interacting throughout the environment, juggling over vehicles and talking to fans even.
That's what we explicitly bought tickets for!
Not to mention, this feels like an unspoken payoff to some notable character design work. We mentioned Ruby Gillman earlier that same year this movie came out. But yeah, look at how lanky and tentacled these guys are. To actually get to see them do some choreography with these lengthy limbs is just great animation throughout.
They got no respect for the blinker.
And then the writing comes in. Bummer. But I think this is the essence of Trolls. It's a remix combination of several jukebox songs, unoriginal in the lyrics but spliced into new art. The animation throughout the saga has been pretty good. From hair physics to papercraft worlds and dance animations, it's clear that there's skill and talent here, but it's efficient. Not reinventing the wheel, but stitching something to be simply entertaining, with a collage of colors to boot. And though I've hated all sorts of early examples, maybe it's just because I don't like pop. And now that there's a vibe I'm genuinely enjoying with a design I genuinely enjoy, I get it now. Or maybe it just took several years for Trolls to master towing the line from lazy to succinct. Either way, this is the iconic moment of Trolls 3 as far as I'm concerned. Still with its flaws, of course, babying itself for its audience with some weird choices.
Give me the thing. Oh, that's good.
But then other times really flourishing with the actions. And then it only rises more. With the vehicular chase on the highway coming to a close, we now have a key change and a locale change.
I'm gonna live forever.
And they own it! This is through and through how to do a musical climax. Everything mixing together for the big finale. Genuinely, it is off the charts, a step above everything we've seen so far in this movie and this franchise. Mix it up with the rival team song number.
Let's hustle!
Okay, actually, they don't blend the two songs together all that much, so maybe that's a missed opportunity there, but I'm still on board. Apparently, they did bring back the hustle. What's more, of course, everybody shows up. The Bergens are back, and they've come with Viva, of course. Finally, the three contribute to the story. Actually, they do so by pausing us briefly right in the center of all this, but sure, we'll let it slide.
Who cares if it's not perfect? As long as we're together.
There's an absolute banger going on outside. Everything else is grand though. Long limbs versus sticky hands. And all coming together with the villains singing as they fight. Bergen Chef 1 could never. How ironic that it has taken all the way to the end of the final movie to actually get on with the vibe of the Trolls saga. Bergen 1 had cringe music and a darker story, Trolls 2 had everyone sing in a very shallow viewing of the Trolls world, but here, with the villains being a mix of both movies together, it finally really all comes round. Not to mention, I feel like every criticism I had of this movie early on has been ironed out. The villains have now lost most of their trolls, but of course not Floyd, gotta keep that suction counter going. The kindest people get the harsher treatment in the Trolls moral system, it seems. But be it shaving off that major ensemble group, giving new characters room for growth despite there being like 5 of them, retconning the retconning to be more consistent as a franchise, better villains, better jokes, succinct pacing, and a stellar finale, it seems someone on board really nailed the tone of what Trolls has always been going for. And now we get to see the final Goku moment of magic between all the bros. Not being perfect to be in harmony, but just being together. Sure, I guess you could confine this as not being together at the time, at a stretch. It's all come to this. You know what's been set up this entire time, and so here it is.
Just let me take you to a better place.
Although they say it's about not being perfect, but then they kind of end up perfect. But hey, it's family harmony. You see what they're going for, it's close enough. Only now is Floyd dead, becoming a crystal himself? Are we really dropping Trolls lore this last minute? But he lives.
But how will we shower?
Don't worry about the context for how that line makes sense. And just like that, Velvet and Veneer are over. And Veneer finally has his redemption arc. Kinda. It's not an active betrayal during the moment, it's just admitting after the fact.
We are frauds.
Probably the most flimsy turnaround in villain history, to be honest. People were probably about to find out organically like 10 seconds later, my dude. If anything, it's the more villainous thing to do. Throwing your ally under the bus.
Sister wanted to be famous, and truly I was too afraid to stand up.
I wouldn't be surprised if the roles were reversed just to try and save face for the evilest character. Almost hitting back to the core message.
And you asked me to change anyway.
But it's kinda lost to do it so close to the end, at least to me. Thankfully, Justice agrees.
Fair enough.
Prison it is.
What are you doing?
And they're gone. It's epilogue time. Characters start to relax at the end of the day. We're back to this beat that I swear happened at the end of the last movie. And just as quickly, we hop to a final reunion party over at Bruce's place.
No pulling out daddy's chest hair.
That is horrifying. And more so than that, I don't even think I noticed this the first time around. The movie decides to show off for the post-credit scene with the real-life virtual reunion of a real boy band for the fun of it.
You are so in sync.
Cool. I'm not a fan. Now this franchise feels especially like a clique. I kinda don't like thinking about the actual musical talent behind the voices. It brings me back to the highbrow musical theater days, but this reveal probably got someone excited somewhere. Doubt the kids would notice though. And of course, in good fashion, there's a song number with NSYNC.
Let me take you to a better place.
Which I believe is a song that appeared earlier in the movie. It's not just at the end here for no reason. And there's some nice rhythmic editing. And Poppy finally gets to have her boy band fan moment, joining in with Branch in a nice wholesome little way. Dance number, entertainment, the end.
You know, I thought I was ready to be a man, but I'm gonna keep it baby for a while.
Okay, you were the only core member to pass the test groups, weren't you? After all these years and they finally muted James Corden. Seriously, remember how prevalent that guy was in the first movie? Here, he literally gets a transition jump scare and they kept him out and away as much as possible. Do the same with some of the other quirky characters, and maybe it really does help trim out the fat of a lot of what made Trolls more cringe. An ensemble franchise that actually managed to shave down. What a load off this movie has just by dropping James Corden's contributions, and his weird worm kid survives him.
No, I'm out of network.
Will we ever see a Trolls 4? Maybe. This movie is the best they've made so far, and I think the reviews reflect that. 60-ish from critics, 90s from audience. With 3 to 4 years between movies, it might take a tick, and Justin Timberlake did get a DUI recently, but I don't think it's career-breaking news. And honestly, I've never been more optimistic. Trolls as a franchise was famously bad. The likes of DreamWorks doing Boss Baby is one of their big trilogies going in the wrong direction of quality. But here, Here, it seems like someone looked at the universe and chipped it down to only its most functional points, cutting out the cringe, emphasizing the heights, and overall bringing out the best version that Trolls can be. It'll always have some sort of problems, but as a trajectory of success, I think each movie got better upon themselves, to the point I can actually call this third movie DreamWorks' only not terrible Trolls movie. And overall, quite the enigma for the terrible Trolls saga. For now though, my name's been Daz. Thank you very much for reaching the end of this video. Do let me know your thoughts on Trolls 3 or the Trolls franchise as a whole. I'd love to hear if people feel the same, or maybe you're a defender of this kind of jukebox remix musical. Do tell me your thoughts down below or on our Discord server, and I shall see you in a little bit.